host, Ronette Branham, and I am here to offer biblical strategies for effective teaching. We have another educator with oil today as a special guest, and I'll let her introduce herself. Her name is Jackie Phillips. How are you today, Jackie?
Hi, Ronette. Thank you so much for having me. I like the title, Educators with Oil. I'm glad that you're speaking to me because I wanted to know more about you and how you even came up with that, because I do think it is so important to have oil or the anointing that makes you effective in whatever you do. Whatever you do, it makes you effective because people are healed, people are set free, and people find purpose whenever there's oil on you. So I appreciate you already for what you do. And I thank you. And when I say educator, I mean that I'm a part-time professor at Rutgers University at the School of Social Work. And it's so funny because in my life, I always saw myself as a teacher. And I believe that I'm always teaching in whatever I do in life. And I'm also a counselor. And that's what we do, is we give people tools for life. That's what teachers and counselors do. So I thank you for that. And a minister also at Abundant Life.
Okay.
And again, every aspect of life to me is teaching.
Yes, if you're a teacher, something in you. I've been a teacher. I said on previous episodes that I don't care what I learn, I'm trying to teach somebody. If I learn something, a new fingernail polish, I said to Shanae that Avon used to have this fast growing nail solution. It was like fingernail polish, but they had to discontinue it because it had something in it that was like kind of poisonous, but it worked. I was just walking advertisement telling everybody, look how fast my nails grew. 2 weeks, you had nice, if your nails broke, you had nice nails in 2 weeks. So it worked. I was just teaching. I teach children how to be children. You know, children need to play sometimes. So that's in me. So I understand when you say that you've always been a teacher and everything you do. And everything you do, if we're walking in the spirit, walking with our oil, the spirit of God, we're more effective in everything. And I mean, it could, if you're cooking dinner, if you're thinking, like God is with me no matter what I do, it's going to come out better. Unless you can't cook, that's so different, right?
But that's part of teaching too, is the honesty that comes forth in the truth.
Yes.
I think good teaching has honesty and it has truth and it has critical thinking. So the truth may be, you may not be a good cook, but you can do other things.
Right.
And I think that's part of teaching, is showing people their gifts as well.
Right. Yes, I'm excited to even talk about. We're going to talk about purpose, our purpose, knowing, walking in our purpose, and also covering fellow educators or covering other people. So I'm excited about that topic also, because you might not know your purpose, but you know what you feel you feel gifted in, or you feel like you're pulled to something. And this is what I want to do, but you don't know that's your gift. So just walking in your purpose, even if you're not in your head, this is my purpose, but this is what I like to do. This is what I'm good at. This is what I can help in. So I'm excited to get into that. You also asked, before we get started, you asked, how did I come up with that? That it was a collaboration between me and Shanae. And Shanae is my former co-host. I'm excited for her to come back. She's coming back soon just to discuss what she's doing because of this podcast. It helped her to walk in her calling, and she changed her whole career. She left teaching altogether. That's another topic, but that's
what I'm saying, because I'm always curious again, because anybody that's a teacher is always learning.
Yes.
Any good teacher is always learning. So when I meet people, I always want to know more about them. And that's that counselor in me too.
Right.
I just want to know more. Any good teacher though is always learning. Always.
Yeah. But this caused her to walk where she wasn't walking. I saw a picture of her. I talked to her the other day. I saw a picture of her and she's glowing. I said, well, where you been all this time? Where you been? Right. Now she knows what she wants to do, and everything is working. And so that she came up, we flipped around some names, and then she forced me to hone in on who my people were, who are the people that I'm targeted towards. And then she had a few names for it because I didn't have a title. I couldn't think of a title, but I knew what it was for. And I said, I want to coach teachers. She was like, well, what does that mean? Coach teachers? Who are you going to coach? People who are leaving the profession? She kept on talking about leaving the profession. I didn't get it, right? I didn't know she was trying to leave for real. And then she said, well, I said, well, teachers just to help them walk, with God and being effective. And then she came up with that. She was like, well, you need the oil. Let's go with that. How about this? And then it just clicked. She gave me like 4 names. None of them worked except for that. Yeah. So
I like that.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
And even too, the oil helped her. That's so interesting. So this is already powerful. And that's why I was so glad when you even asked me. And then once you asked me, I started to think about what guides me as a teacher. So I came up with 3 scriptures that I think guide me consistently, even when it's subconscious. This is where I think I'm coming from. James 3:1, and it's so funny. All the scriptures that I'm going to give you are the 3rd chapter, so I think that's profound right there. So it's James 3:1, Colossians 3:23, and 1 Corinthians 3:9.
Okay.
And James 3:1 says, "Many should not desire to be teachers, because you'll judge more harshly."
Right.
Wow, like there's a great responsibility that comes with teaching. And that's whatever age that you do. And I think it was talking about people in the church, but I see it more expanded. I think teachers just have a huge responsibility for the lives that you cover, period. And take this very seriously when you step into that place of teaching, of shifting lives. And I think too, because we not only shift the lives of the people that we see face to face, but it's about their families.
Right.
It's about other people in the classroom. It's about our colleagues. It's about the earth, because people say the future generation, but it's the generations. It's people that's impacting the earth. So I take that very seriously. And that's why I believe that you study, you absorb. So when you show up, you can give everything. And that's another one of my favorite scriptures too that I live out in this is Colossians 3:23 and 24, is that whatever you do in life, give it your all, because do it as unto the Lord.
Yeah.
This is it. Like whatever you do it as unto God. God is there. And that's one of the things that I try to stay mindful of. God is there even in the people, because not just in me,
right,
but in his people.
Right.
And that's one of the things too that I try to show up and do before the classes. I pray for wisdom. I pray for insight. I pray for understanding. I pray for the lives that's being impacted. And it is so moving throughout the years when students tell me, you shaped my family's life. I'm on the phone with a former student Thursday, and she was like, when we were in your class on Zoom, she says the whole family was there.
Oh,
My
yeah.
whole family would show up. She said, and we would discuss the lecture long after it was over. She was like, you won't believe the way you shaped my life and my family. And when we were on virtual, I had a student, her father had died. And her mom would show up and she was like, thank you for what you're bringing to me, to my daughter.
Oh, I could imagine.
And it's just very powerful.
Right.
And I saw the mom at graduation, and this is the beautiful thing about teaching too. These are all faiths. These are Jewish people. These are Black people.
Oh, yeah.
White people. These are Muslim. These are graduate students, undergraduate students, and just the power of shaping lives beyond.
Right.
People that I haven't even met. Like one of the students were like, my whole family knows you. My whole family knows you. That's very powerful. And even when I have had difficult students, one of my friends, she would say, Jackie, you're to pray. And I've learned to do that. I take that
Right.
to my life. When I just want to be frustrated, one of my friends, she's like, they're there for a reason.
Right. Right.
They're there.
Yes.
Like, get out of your own stuff.
Uh-huh.
They're there for a reason. So again, I bring God and to be able to see God in them.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right. That's the whole premise. And
Yes.
you just expounded on the whole name of Educators with Oil. And that I love it. And I looked at it while you were speaking, and I was trying to picture it from my perspective, where I teach small children, and we were virtual for a whole school year, a half a year, and then and how the whole family was there. I was teaching math, and we taught it differently. The parents had to sit with the lesson to help their children with the homework. So yes, some were there, to make sure that their child is paying attention. But most, if they were there during a math lesson, they needed to learn it. They couldn't help so they were. It's just amazing how I'm walking around school. Kids are, hi, Miss Branham. Never saw the kid before in my life. I don't know who they are, but they just know who I am. So I like that they recognize, and then they're happy to say hello to me. That's something different. They could say that's my teacher, my brother's teacher, or something like that, and keep it moving. But no, they're making sure that I recognize them, and I can appreciate that.
But again, to recognize God in people. And my thing is, everybody wants to be seen and heard. And that's one of the things that we do when we show up. We show up to give people permission to be heard.
Right.
And to honor them, that you're seen, because we live in a world where people feel so invisible and so isolated all the time. And teachers do, we allow people to be seen and heard. And also one of the things that we do is we teach them how to say it, to discover those gifts. What is the way that you say it that may not be like anyone else? And I remember years ago, I was teaching a drama class, and one of the young girls, she says, I can't read. I said, yes, you can. You're too shy.
Yeah.
You can read.
She could read, but yeah.
But you're shy.
And
I'm like, read this for me. And she read. I'm like, oh my goodness, your voice is so powerful. I'm like, that's a trick.
It is.
Your voice is beautiful, but that's a trick because it's meant to be shared. And I will work with her and just read it out loud. And again, that's that purpose that shows up in life. They appear to be little things, but little things mean a lot, because it's the little things that tear us down.
Right.
They eventually become big things. And it's the little things that also build us up. So that's what we do as educators. And not only do we build up our students, but what has become very important to me in the past, I guess 2 years, maybe longer than that, is just co-laborers. So that's the other scripture is 1 Corinthians 3:9, that we co-labor with God. But I see that again expanded, that I'm concerned about other teachers.
Right.
And one of my friends from the church, so maybe it's about 6 or 7 years, she has taken upon herself that she prays for me and my coworkers.
Oh yeah,
Yes, and we called their names out, and I just called her 2 weeks ago. I'm like, add another name to the list. And she's like, how do you spell it? And we do that. And I just became so mindful of what teaching does to your body, what it does to your mind, what it does to your spirit, and to be able to address those things that people don't always say.
Right.
And she has helped me with that. And one of the things that she does too is every semester she sends me a prayer. Every semester she sends me a prayer.
Oh, she sends you a prayer.
She sends me a prayer.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's yes.
She literally, she either writes it down, my
Uh-huh.
or she texts it to me, or she leaves it on a voicemail.
Oh,
And I
nice.
can talk to her, but I like it when she leaves it on a voicemail or
Uh-huh.
she emails it because I can keep looking at it.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
can keep looking at it. And she has prayed for me so much and for my coworkers that I was able to share things with my coworkers that she has prayed for. And they didn't even and they didn't even know that we knew they were going through that. So when things came up later,
Uh-huh.
I was able to share that with them. They were like, "Who is that lady? We want to talk to her." And that's the truth. That's
And it's
the
so strengthening.
it's so
Strengthening.
strengthening that I'm telling you, that's the power of prayer.
Uh-huh.
So for me to understand that my co-laborers are a part of my journey has become very, very important. Yeah, maybe the past 6, 7 years.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I'm learning that we need each other. We need
Yes.
that community
Mhm.
of we need that community to work together, not just say we weren't Christians, we just say we didn't walk with God. We still need that community to help
Absolutely.
build each other up. So
Mhm.
imagine if we are children of the Most High and we're working together, how strong we are and how we strengthen each other. Because, like you said, you don't know who's going through what, but God will give it to you to pray for them for in a specific area, and that's strengthening to you and to them. And then just to know that somebody's praying for me, you know how that gives puts some extra strength in my heart and puts a smile on my face that yeah, I feel that. And thank you for that, for calling out my name, whoever
Yes.
you're calling. That does something to me. It helps me. Just like my students, just encouraging my students in my class.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like I was bleeding. I'm sorry. Because I don't know what happened. So
That's
um,
probably you getting emotional.
my students in my class, I'm finding their gifts, and I'm looking. I have students who daydream, but they can give you the answers. And
Absolutely.
I found out last night. I looked at it. I'm taking this. I'm in this conference this weekend, and the conference, while the speakers were speaking, I was writing things down or I was doodling, but I was listening, and so that put me in mind to think about my students that doodle and they can come up with the answers because they're listening, but they have to be doing something while they're
I
listening.
have two students. They doodle the whole class, and I just read their papers. They're some of the best papers I've gotten in the class.
Uh-huh. See, and
And they're
and I
doodling
didn't.
some of the best critical thinkers. And when they ask questions, they're always on point, and you wouldn't even think it. So yes, people learn in different ways,
Yes.
and I think we have to sit with that because I don't think we always understand that. And but one of the students did tell me that she was like, I am listening, but I'm telling you, some of the best papers. What to say, the race isn't given to the swift, neither to the strong. It's not always about the people that talk the most.
Right. It's not right.
Not.
Right. And we're all in the same class. We're all trying to get the same thing, but we're going to get it in a different way. So my goal this week, Sunday, with my students is to bring out their gifts in their learning. And I have a plan for Fridays, what we're going to do, how we're going to present that, how we're going to show that we learn. Because I asked my students questions and I asked them to explain things to see if they got it, right? And then they'll explain everything that they got, and then somebody else will add to it if if they missed something. But I want them to explain it a different way, the way that works for them. And I'm trying to, so we won't feel like I'm not smart because I can't answer the question verbatim to the book, because I never want that anyway. I want you to explain it how you can explain it, but let them teach them their purpose, not their purpose, but their gifts, what they're gifted in. And that's my purpose, to bring it out. That's my purpose, to bring it out and know that I'm teaching them something, but it might not show up the way I expect it to show up. So I'm excited about that too. And like you said, people are listening. Like I said, people are listening, Sometimes they're not. You have to bring them back in because I have little kids. So, but if they are, and they can still give you what's happening, what we're talking about, expound on the subject, let them be, let them do that. So
That's why it is so important to, I think, to let people show they're learning in a different way, like whether it's writing, whether it's poetry said out loud, whether it's spoken word, whether it's answering in the class, whether it's working in small groups. And I know you know all about those different learning styles that they talk about, the auditory, the kinetic, because it lets them know their value
right,
in the way, in the unique way that they're created. And that's the beauty of it, that there's value in the unique way that you're creating. And I think we live in a world where people think you need to look a certain way, you need to sound a certain way,
right,
just like another person. But again, when we help people understand the value in their unique way, it's not always that level of competing and comparison. You can sit back and you're like, oh, wow.
right. And I think that's the job of a teacher. That's one of our purposes, not just to teach them ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, but to help bring it out. It took me a long time. I came from a family of singers. I couldn't sing. Like, I couldn't sing. I was the eyeball. And so I couldn't even see my value in my family. And I just couldn't. But it took me a long time. I didn't realize until I got older what people thought of me. People looked up to me. They thought I had wisdom as a small child. I didn't know because we didn't talk about it. We talked about the gifts of singing. Couldn't sing. We don't need you right now. All the while they were looking at me in a different way, but I didn't take it because we didn't point it out. So I want my students to understand who they are early. And that is, we can talk about purpose. We for days to come, because you can look at it in all different directions. What is your purpose?
The mental, but the thing too, when you have a sense of purpose, it helps you feel connected with other people, and purpose gives meaning. And I think a lot of depression and anxiety and just isolation come from people not feeling that they have value,
Right.
and that they don't have meaning. So, and not just, it's not just for one age, it's throughout the life cycle that you gotta know that you're valuable and life has meaning, period.
Right.
And I think that's what teachers bring out. I remember I was grading papers when we used to grade papers before all of this electronic stuff. And all of a sudden, at the end of the paper, I just wrote to one of my students. I'm like, you deserve to be here. So he comes up to me after class and he's crying. He said, how did you know I needed that? Because I'm struggling. I didn't think I deserved to be here. I didn't think I was as good as the other students. And how did you know that? And that's the beauty. It doesn't have to be a lot of words.
No, it doesn't.
And that's one thing I like about little children, and how they even get excited when you say their name.
Right.
Especially when they don't think you know them.
Right.
You know me? Yeah, you such and such. You know my mama. You know my daddy. And then they stand up, and all you did was say, hey.
Right, right.
And they, especially when they don't expect it. And they stand tall because you saw me. And they haven't done anything. They haven't said anything. They just were there. They were just being. And for us to recognize that. And even they tell us, even to walk the room, just to hear what people are talking about. It's not just class, lesson. It's what are people talking about? Are they talking about grandma? Are they talking about holidays? Were they talking about this lesson was difficult, or they were having difficulty accessing? Like, that's one of the things that I do is just listen to the conversations. What are they saying? What's important to them? And it helps again with the lesson for the day,
Right.
the life lesson.
Right. That's part of our reading program. When we give them turn and talk, we say turn and talk to your neighbor and discuss solve a problem, solve an issue. And I'll walk around and see what they're talking about. Not just what they're talking about, but how they're thinking, how it is expressed. Because I had a little student, he will come up with the answers to the math. He would never write a problem down. It would be 2-digit
I'm
addition,
jealous.
subtract. Yes, he would
Jealous.
never write it down. He didn't want to write. I don't know why he didn't. He had fine motor issues. So I guess that's the way he compensated, by figuring everything out in his head, because holding a pencil was kind of difficult. So I said, I don't know, where did you get this answer? Because I can't do it. It would take me a minute to figure it out in my head. He said, well, you have 9 and 1, that's 10. So, you put that 1 over there. He just explained it in his head. You don't have to write, you're fine. I mean, long as you can explain that, how you got that answer, and just listening to how they think and how they construct answers, that's just amazing to me. And then you'll know your students. You'll know what to help them with or what they don't need help with. And then you could put more time in with another student. So yes, listening to their conversations about whatever the discussion is something that we all need to tune into as teachers.
Yeah, I find it very helpful. I love to hear their conversations, because they're telling you what's important to them.
Right.
What's difficult, what's their struggle. You're hearing that. They may not say anything to you about that, but that's one of the things that I like about that. And then I also like watching them talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that I'm always on the lookout for as an educator. The difference between the student that's quiet and the student that's isolated.
Yeah.
There are people that are not as talkative as others. They're just quiet by nature.
Mm-hmm.
And then every now and then there's a student that isolates.
Yeah. I have a student, really quickly. I have a student. I grouped the students to work on a project, and she didn't want to she's quiet, and she's like more shy and reserved. So everybody had their group, and then she didn't. There was these 2 little boys. So one little boy said, she won't talk to us, right? She won't work with us. So then I brought her over to a group I was working with. She was all into it. For one thing, she wanted to talk to me, but she was able to answer and give her input and discuss what we were talking about. But over there, she wouldn't even talk. She didn't want to. That wasn't her group. She wouldn't be in my group. But she's like you said, she's not talkative, but she comes up with answers and questions that are on point. So listening to conversations, that helps us with our purpose of helping the students. And do you have anything else? We have like 8 minutes, but we have, that's pretty long.
I just wanted to know, what have you noticed in the classroom since COVID? Did COVID change the students? Did it change you? Did it change your approaches? We see all of these things where they're saying like there's more anxiety. We lost 2 years, but I wanted to get your impact, and then I'm going to tell you what I've seen.
Okay. What I've seen with my students, because my students are 7 and 8 years old. So they lost kind of that socialization. And they probably are home socializing a lot, but they come to school, they don't know how to socialize with other students. Some, 7-year-olds, they'll talk to anybody. But then there are some who maybe they just had their family. They didn't get out. So it's hard, like the little girl I just spoke about. She doesn't talk to other students. She doesn't. And she, if I'm in the conversation, she's all game for it. And she talks low, she raises her hand like real low. And then she'll tell us everything we need to know, but she doesn't socialize. So I'm trying to, help her be comfortable. No, this is a safe place. So she can give her opinions. So yeah, that's what I found, especially with the students being so young.
Mhm. It's a socialization. One of the things that I find, because I teach grad school and undergrad, it's just the level of anxiety, period. And I think people had a lot of anxiety before
Hmm.
COVID, but I think afterwards, the level of anxiety just went so high because I also think people were inundated with technology.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's part of the socialization that has hampered too, is a lot of life was face to face, but now technology has become a huge part of our life, which is good.
Uh-huh.
We wouldn't be having this conversation like this.
Right, right.
It's a good thing, but it's also that balance because we still need people. That's the beauty. And I was glad to see so many people come back to school
Yeah.
because I do think face to face helps us, it matures us. And there is something comforting, something healing about being with another person. Just like I'm listening to you talk about this student, there's something safe about you. So that's healing. That
Uh-huh.
is healing. And again, it's giving her a sense of value. So evidently she knows that she's valuable in your eyes. So to
Hmm.
me, that's what coming back face to face has done. And also for the students that were already anxious,
Oh
I
yeah.
having options to go online for college students gave them another option that other children, smaller children don't have. But colleges, I think,
Mhm.
the totally online programs have greatly increased because it gives them a chance to work also.
Right, right,
Again, and it gave us more options. So that's another thing too. The pandemic gave us more options to do
right.
life. And
I,
that's for all of us. And what do you want to do with that option? And that's another thing too. So people have to make choices. What do you want to do with that option that's been given to you because of the pandemic, and learning how to get balance even in that. And I also think, again, with social media, I think people were already experiencing anxiety. And I
mhm.
also think socialization was lacking already.
Already,
I
yes.
do.
We were
I think
heading
it's
to
lacking
that.
already, but then it
Yeah.
made it worse. But if I'm gonna be honest, I think it's already lacking because of social media. You don't
Uh-huh.
have to look at people. You don't have to even reading books, doing things that you have to write things down. Like I
Right,
journal, and I encourage students to actually read a book, to actually journal, because I
right.
think that's such a huge part of learning. I think it's part of intellectual health, and I also think
Mhm.
it's part of emotional health when you're able to write. And that's another thing that I've seen that's lacking, is people don't write as much.
Oh, I came back last school year when they were out for a whole from half kindergarten, half first grade. Then they came and all of first grade. Then they came to me. Kids couldn't write.
Yeah,
They didn't. They couldn't write on a line. They
yes.
couldn't. They all over the place. The papers upside down.
Mhm.
They couldn't. They couldn't write. I mean, it was a difficult year last year when the students came back full time. So a lot of things. Um, then I have people saying the other way, well, they don't need to know how to write. They can
Me
type.
too.
So
We need to know how to write, and I'm huge with that. We need to know how to write. Technology gives out on us, and being a
yeah.
Black woman, I
Uh-huh.
take that so serious because our ancestors were not allowed to write.
Right, right,
And anything that has been forbidden has to be precious.
right. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that's not lost on me. So
No.
I won't ever take that lightly. We
Yeah,
were forbidden to read and to write.
right.
Because
Yeah.
this is what I tell people, because the pendulum will swing again, and you don't want writing only for elite people and certain people.
Right. And that's what it'll be for.
And that's what it will
Uh-huh.
be. I tell
Yes.
people, let's pay attention to history.
Uh, right.
We were
Yeah.
for,
We
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 were
don't
for,
want to learn from it. Yes.
but again, but that's what educators do. We tell the truth about the past, the present,
Uh-huh.
and the impact that it will have on the future. So as an educator, I always emphasize reading and writing. We was
Right,
reading and writing.
right. Yes.
That's deep right there.
It is.
Not
That's
lost on me. Not lost
second
on me.
grade is that, yeah, second grade is that place where I'm trying to bring up their reading scores,
Mhm.
and I'm teaching them why you need to read, why you need to know how to read. And because it's not, you might need to read something and you can, or you might need to read something for your parents, and you need to know how to read, and not at a first grade level. So I'm bringing them up there. We're working on it. So yes, they have to know how to read and write, and I'm teaching them, the basics, the how to figure out a word, how to just decode a word.
Mhm.
So with that said, we talked about our purpose and what we're here for, the value of knowing our purpose as teachers,
Mhm.
how it's going to help others and help us do our job, what we are doing, and also the value. I don't know if this is most important or not, but the value of prayer and praying for one another,
Mhm.
and having that community of people praying.
Absolutely.
So did you have one more thing before I close out?
Well, I just like to talk about the 3 C's in the classroom.
Mhm.
Compassion. I think it is so important to be compassionate. And compassion starts with love. I think good teaching starts with love.
Mhm.
I think the other C is challenging. A good teacher challenges, but you can challenge when people know that you love them. And the other one is creativity.
Oh yeah.
Creativity is so important in what we do because, again, it lets people see their uniqueness. And I'm going to add another one. Community.
Hoping
We always
community.
community,
Yes.
commune together.
Right.
And that's for in the classroom and that's out of the classroom. We're co-laborers because
Right.
since we are co-laborers, we are a community.
Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. Okay, thank you, Jackie, for coming and sharing with us today. I can appreciate us talking about our purpose and the value of praying for one another. And again, this is Jackie Phillips, our guest host, and I am Ronelle Branham, Educators with Oil. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. And when I say share, share with another educator, or it doesn't even have to be an educator. Share, and someone will learn something or get something or have something, a comment about what we're talking about, what we're discussing. Again, thank you. Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate it. And you're welcome. Have a great day.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right,
Have a good day.
bye.